listening to The Lisa Benson Show for National Security Matters. To join in the conversation, call anytime at 602-508-0960. That's 602-508-0960. Outside of the Valley, call toll-free 888-960-9696. Questions are also welcome by leaving a comment on www.lisabensonradio.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you. And we are fired up because this story is so crazy. World Vision, a Christian charity organization funneling money to Hamas for the explicit purpose of harming Israelis and Jews. This is your host, Lisa Benson, and we are here on our 201st show. We can only be here giving you this sweet information if you support us. And to that end, I just want to say that I thank you all for what you do. I am so humbled by the support that we do get. There's no way we could afford to be here without you. Please go to the nonprofit site and continue to support us, or new donors, please consider. We want to be here next week when Lieutenant General Michael Flynn has agreed to be on the show, and you see him all the time on Fox, and he's going to be here, but we'll only be here if you help us. Go to the QueenEstherProject.org and make a charitable organization gift. Thank you so much. Let's bring this right back. Barry Shore, you fired us up, and now we're going to turn it over. Stay with us, Barry. Don't hang up from Netanya. I know it's late, but I need you to stay on. And we're going right to Jerry Gordon, who will be discussing with Dexter Van Zile.
Dexter is a Boston buddy of long standing. We've been together fighting BDS and other stuff. Dexter, who are the key advocacy employees of World Vision International engaged in anti-Israel bias? And what's happened to them?
What's going on here is that essentially there's two segments of the organization that we need to pay attention to. One is World Vision International, which is basically the umbrella organization for the entire organization, and then there's World Vision USA, which provides about $1 billion in revenue to the organization. And what happens is that World Vision International basically oversees the receipts and the disbursement of money throughout the world. And essentially it deals with Europe, and World Vision USA basically deals entirely with the U.S. As far as fundraising, and does actually have a pretty important role to play in the organization. It's how it's governed, because it provides so much money. And what has happened is that historically World Vision International has been much more hostile to Israel than World Vision USA, largely because there's a lot more hostility in the donors. And they've used a story of anti-Israel, Israeli villainy to raise money amongst those other constituents. While there is some anti-Zionism here in the U.S., you can't use that to raise money amongst your American donors, so they dial it back. And so essentially what happens is that the local employees, and one of the things I want to make clear is that Halabi's, the Israelis have been very clear to say Halabi's the guy, and they don't really want to indict World Vision as a whole. There has been, saying, look, you guys got to do a better job of providing oversight to what's going on in Jerusalem, in the Jerusalem, West Bank, and Gaza office, because any time a humanitarian organization like World Vision operates in a war zone, which is what the Gaza Strip is, there's going to be diversion of goods. This has happened in Ethiopia. I suspect it's happened in a number of other conflict zones as well. But the reason why this is so important is because of the anti-Israel propaganda that was broadcast with the tolerance of World Vision International historically. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why people are paying attention, because essentially nobody's really surprised that this happened. May Cannon, who is the director of advocacy for the organization, she left a few years ago, and she's now working for Churches for Middle East Peace, which is an anti-Israel organization. And then there was another guy named Tom Getman that worked in the Jerusalem West Bank Gaza office, who a few years ago, after he retired from World Vision, called Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, a friend. and said nice things from him and praised him. And then there was Alex Sterne, who was the person in charge of the Jerusalem West Bank Gaza office. He's been gone for a couple of years. But during his tenure, the fundraising materials and the reports generally would never dealt with the fact that Hamas is the number one enemy to child welfare in the Gaza Strip.
Right.
And that's the problem that World Vision has, is that World Vision cannot speak the truth about Hamas, because if it does, its staffers and its employees will get in trouble, and then the donors are going to ask, well, why are we giving money to the Gaza Strip if Hamas is basically going to either subvert it or continue to put children at risk with another war?
I have another question. I've been in nonprofit 30 years. That's how I got into counterterrorism. I've worked with affiliate programs, Bar Ilan University. I mean, we had national organizations throughout the world, including the United States. A certain amount of disbursements from the United States has to go to the national headquarters. Do we know in World Vision how much of the United States money went to Gaza specifically?
That I don't know, and I have been looking, and the documents are as clear as mud on this. Okay, you go to GuideStar and you look for World Vision International's information. They haven't filed 990 since 2006.
Bingo.
And they file what they call accountability reports, which are really basically what I would call, the type of things that you would send a donor, like an annual report.
Yep.
But it's all top-level stuff.
They used Price Waterhouse to do that, though, I believe.
Right. And you see, the interesting thing is that they've said, look, our stuff has all been audited. Okay? Bernie Madoff was audited. Okay? Yeah. I don't know how else to put it. And how are you going to confirm what's actually going on in the Gaza Strip? Because World Vision, Halabi apparently put Hamas members on World Vision's payroll.
Yeah. Now
how do you find out that they're
you
that
can't,
they're working for Hamas?
And that is what Charles Ortel is going to talk about. But there's also another problem in that World Vision has the Methodist Church, World Vision Korean Methodist Church, World Vision One World. There's churches also under their domain. So it's churches, it's nonprofit organizations, it's humanitarian projects, it's in Gaza, it's in every country in Africa, it's in the United States, it's in Great Britain. This is a conglomerate of mass proportions raising money from Christians around the world. But you see, because they didn't file in 990, we're not going to know how much money went to overhead.
Well, this is the difficulty, and this is the frightening thing. World Vision does great work throughout the world, but the problem is that this scandal in Gaza Strip, because it has such national security overtones, Hamas is not just an enemy of Israel, it's an enemy of the West, and it's fundamentally hostile to the United States. Kids who are being helped by World Vision in Africa, in Asia, elsewhere in the Middle East, they're going to suffer because donors are going to say, look, we're not going to support it. We're not going to support World Vision because we can't allow our child sponsorship money to be used as a terrorist sponsorship.
This is something that is wrong with many organizations, and some of the medical organizations and some of the organizations that have to do with specific illnesses. A lot of money is getting funneled to the top tier, 40%. And it's not uncommon to have $500,000 salaries. We're going to be right back because this is fascinating. I've got so much more to ask Lisa Benson, KKNT. You won't hear this anywhere else, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Lisa Benson, KKNT. Have you heard that the Lisa Benson radio show now has 30,000 podcast listeners? Join us as we convey the intelligent, measured, accurate, and untold stories of national security and foreign policy. Follow us on 960thepatriot.com, LisaBensonRadioShow.com, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn. Please share these podcasts with your friends from the 960thepatriot.com podcast page. Thank you.
This is Lieutenant Colonel Wendy Rogers, your candidate for Arizona's 1st Congressional District, one of the Air Force's first women pilots, now a hardworking business owner, wife, mom, and grandma. I am eager to serve again by protecting America's homeland and safeguarding Israel. Please donate monthly to wendyrogers.org/Israel. That's WENDYROGERS.org/Israel. Paid for by wendyrogers.org.
This is true.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
110 emails have been determined to contain classified information.
This election season, the Patriot isn't accepting these lies. Our biggest event yet is coming.
There is no classified material.
8 of those chains contained information that was top secret.
Brought to you by Guns Etc., Dinesh D'Souza, Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Seth Liebson, moderated by Hugh Hewitt. It's 960 The Patriots Taking Back America, September 8th at Scottsdale Plaza. General admission and VIP meet and greet tickets available now at 960thepatriot.com.
It would have been better for me to use 2 separate phones and 2 email accounts.
Secretary Clinton used several different servers, and she also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email.
Don't change the channel yet. Take America back, September 8th. Info and tickets at 960thepatriot.com.
Here's a quiz. How do most people research real estate? The Internet. MLS is the best source, but you used to need a realtor. Not anymore. I'll send you an app and website that open to the MLS. Do-it-yourself real estate at its best. Mention Lisa Benson, buy or sell with me, and I'll give you a home warranty worth $500. 602-942-4200. Jack Zohar. That's me. Jack Zohar, West USA Realty, 602-942-4200.
Hello, this is Lisa Benson. This show is only made possible due to the generous patronage of donors and advertisers. Please support my advertisers and contact me to join us as a patron or advertiser in our cause to protect the American homeland. For more information, call me at 602-790-6418 or visit my website, lisabensonradioshow.com. Thank you.
You're listening to The Lisa Benson Show for National Security Matters. To join in the conversation, call anytime at 602-508-0960. That's 602-508-0960. Outside of the Valley, call toll-free 888-960-9696. Questions are also welcome by leaving a comment on www.lisabensonradio.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Am I on mic? Good, because I understand that Tennessee wants to give a shout out to me. Social media is going crazy. This is a big story. I thank you in Tennessee, and thank you for having your families gathered. I know there's one family gathering, listening every week. We thank you so much. Let's toss this right over to Jerry Gordon to ask Dexter the question.
Hey, Dexter, who are the top dogs at these charities, and what are their connections with both the Obama administration and the UN Secretary General?
Okay, well, first of all, the guy in charge of World Vision USA is an individual by the name of Richard Sterne. He's got an MBA from Cornell. He used to work for Gillette and Parker Brothers, and he's a corporate guy. And he was in 2009, the Obama administration announced that he was a member of the. He was appointed as an advisor to the administration's Council on Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. And then World Vision International is led by Kevin Jenkins, and he's got an MBA from Harvard. And he's a former CEO of Canadian Airlines. And he's had historically been involved in investment companies. So you can see, and he's been pretty, Kevin Jenkins, you'll see his picture taken with the Pope. And and I'm a Roman Catholic, just so you know. And he's also basically pretty high up. He's had a lot of pictures taken with, Kofi Annan and other people from the United Nations and Ban Ki-moon. The interesting thing about this is that shows that essentially, and this has historically been the case, is that when you have, but it's odd for the evangelicals, a lot of these ecumenical organizations eventually end up embracing the agenda of the United Nations, which we all know is generally hostile to Israel. And so what happens is in order for these CEOs of these large organizations or the executive directors like this, the World Council of Churches, in order for them to essentially be able to go with the flow as an international elite, you have to kind of embrace an anti-Zionist narrative. That's pretty much what you do. That's how you get invited to the cocktail parties, and that's what's done.
But I need to focus this on what America can do today to make change, and to that end.
All right. Obviously, first of all, what they need to do is they need to tell the people at World Vision USA, which is headquartered in Federal Way, show us your books, and also World Vision International. Show us your books.
Bring me right to my next guest, the very esteemed Charles Ortel. Are you listening to all of this?
I am indeed. Thank you, Lisa.
And there's a woman in Florida who is listening today, and she loves to hear what you have to say. So I give a shout out to her. She knows who I'm talking about, and she's a big fan of yours, Charles. What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think it strikes me that this is yet another case. It's an even bigger fraud than the Clinton Foundation fraud. I haven't looked carefully at the filings of World Vision or World Vision International, but I did notice that supposedly the U.S. entity is a 501c3 organization, meaning it's a public charity. And, one would need to go back to its original filings and its articles of incorporation to see what its specific tax-exempt purposes actually are listed as being. But there are special rules, Lisa will know and others will know, that apply to U.S. charities operating internationally. They're very strict rules.
Very strict rules.
And one of them, an obvious rule is that a charity cannot be used to fund an enemy of the United States. And I don't know if Hamas is actually listed as an enemy.
Yes.
But if it is, then the contributions from this charity through the international conduit are illegal, against public policy, and in violation of the fundamental premise that gives permission for charities like this one to operate. So, and it doesn't matter if it's just a small amount, like $250,000 or $500,000 out of the $3 billion per year. Ordinarily, what you have to do is list out all of your grants, if you're a normal 501c3, of $5,000 or more, identifying each recipient's address, noting whether or not that recipient is indeed tax exempt, and if so, under what authority.
Yes.
And it sounds to me like World Vision doesn't do that.
You hold
on.
I've
got their letter of designation for World Vision International, and they're designated as a church.
Yes, I want to come back to that. I have a caller calling in. Richard Cutting, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Lisa.
This is something that strikes home to Christians all around who are listening to the show, who are outraged by this. Your question, Richard. Quickly.
I want to go back to Barry. Barry, I'm going to give you a hypothetical. If I was a Hamas intelligence officer designing an intelligence program to collect money from a dupe organization, would I reach out to this type of organization? Because the disbursement of money throughout Hamas sounds very professional across medical aid, buildings, military, weapons. Is this a designed program, Barry? Is that what the evidence is uncovering as these cases unravel?
It's absolutely that. And obviously you get the radical Palestinians, both under the Palestinian Authority and in Gaza. Obviously it's Hamas, who infiltrate themselves with these organizations. And we've had this for years with the hundreds of European NGOs and group organizations whose basis is similar to World Vision, is that they're doing it for the best of human rights, for the children in need and everything. And they build their persona around this sort of image. And it's a cooperation, it's a hand-in-hand cooperation between these left-wing radical organizations together with hardline Islamists and terrorists. And they're experts. So to answer your question directly, what you're going to find is a lot of cutout organizations and non-staffers who are actually operating the money when it comes to operating the money there in Gaza. It's not Price Waterhouse operating out of their New York office. It's people like Halabi and all the other hundreds of people who've got their hands in the till.
So what American Christians should know is that they are the target of a hostile intelligence service in the Muslim world that is taking their money to fund its military operations. Could that be an accurate assessment?
Yeah, it's right. Let me answer you absolutely directly. If you support the evangelistic movement in the United States, make sure it's a genuinely pro-Israel branch of the evangelistic church, and you support them with your money, not one that is funding anti-Israel terrorism and Jew hatred.
We have to get to these churches. I want to come back from a break and talk about replacement theology and the churches, if we can do that. Patrick, are we going to a break and then we're coming back, right? Oh, my goodness. I thank you all for listening. This is so important for Israel. Lisa Benson, we'll be right back. Hello, this is Lisa Benson, and I want to thank our listeners and our followers as we continue to grow our initiatives. The Lisa Benson Radio Show for National Security Matters, the National Security Task Force of America, now in more than 50 cities across the nation, and the Queen Esther Project, the nonprofit organization that supports all we do. Our mission to alleviate the human suffering of innocent people who are in harm's way of tyranny and genocide only exists due to the generosity of our donors to the LisaBensonRadioShow.com and to the QueenEstherProject.org. Your gift to the QueenEstherProject.org provides the funding for this broadcast and to the projects we are undertaking to help protect Christians, Jews, Yazidis, Assyrians, and all who are being slaughtered and persecuted in the Middle East and Africa. We were all born for such a time as this, so please visit our website at thequeenestherproject.org. Thank you.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Dr. Kelly Ward. You've probably heard my name a lot being dragged through the mud by John McCain and his big money establishment friends. After spending millions of dollars assassinating my character, questioning my patriotism, and attacking our military family, John McCain's smear and scare tactics aren't working anymore. Negative attacks cannot change the fact that an Arizona state legislator cannot vote on national security or on bills to fund our troops in the United States Congress. Senator McCain knows that I support the troops and I oppose terrorism. And he knows that my husband has served in the military for 32 years. We all honor Senator McCain for his military service to our country, but he should honor my family's sacrifices as well. These false attack ads discredit his past service and call into question his capacity to serve a fourth decade in D.C., well into his 80s. On August 30th, let's elect a conservative champion to fight for AZ, not D.C. I'm Kelly Ward. I approve this message.
Paid for by Ward for Senate.
We're living in dangerous times in America as our very security as a nation comes into question each and every day. Our borders remain open for one and all despite countless verbal and written promises. Politicians have continually broken those promises with little regard for our well-being. I'm Dr. Kelly Ward, and I'm running against John McCain, who has repeatedly said, let's build the dang fence. Well, dang it, he hasn't done it, has he? Overseas, Christians are being persecuted in Pakistan, Syria, Iran. ISIS grows, we shrink. Meanwhile, America has no effective foreign policy. The great state of Israel cannot do it alone. Israel often stands as a singular watchdog when America should be right by her side, not negotiating with Iran. I'm Dr. Kelly Ward, a strong, principled conservative. I'll help lead the way for a secure America, at home and abroad. A safe USA only exists by being a secure USA. We have to do a much better job. I will make a difference. I'm Kelly Ward. I approve this message.
Paid for by Ward for Senate.
You're listening to The Lisa Benson Show for National Security Matters. To join in the conversation, call anytime at 602-508-0960. That's 602-508-0960. Outside of the Valley, call toll-free 888-960-9696. Questions are also welcome by leaving a comment on www.lisabensonradio.com.
I want to thank our engineers, Patrick and Gil, who watch me week after week doing a dance sitting here at this. Sometimes I'm standing, trying to get it all in. Thank you, gentlemen. You are amazing. I thank you. Let's bring this right back. We have Charles Ortel, who is spectacular on nonprofit finance issues. We have Dexter Van Zile from Camera. We have Jerry Gordon. We have Richard Cutting. And we have my lovely Barry Shaw from Netanya, Israel. Let's get this right back. Jerry, your last question for today in our last segment.
Basically, Dexter, why is World Vision International reverting back to being a church? What is it hiding? Why are its finances opaque? And
see, that's the I don't know, but one of the interesting things is that in 2008, the year after they basically said, World Vision International said we're a church. It had been filing 990s at least up until 2006. It stopped filing them in 2007. And then in 2008, there was an increased, they changed the 990 form itself. And one of the questions that they changed in the form was, does your organization know of any significant diversion of resources? And interestingly enough, if you look at their accountability reports, they talk about the diversion of resources, but it's always typically around $1 million out of a $2.8 billion budget. And they don't provide an awful lot of detail. And so one of the concerns that I have is, has there been diversion of goods and services going on? And apparently that's what the Shin Bet has suggested in the Gaza Strip. And just how much has it been going on? And would we have a better idea of how much it was going on if they had continued to file their 990?
Of course. Barry Shaw. Barry?
Yeah.
I know you're exhausted, and thank you for staying up with us. But this is so important for Israel. Christians, you and I have a lot of Christian followers, and they expect us to tell them the truth. And they're watchmen on the wall for our country, for my other country, Israel. What is the message you want to say to them today?
I want to thank what I call the true evangelists for supporting Israel. And part of the message I want to put out to your listeners over here, if you're funding an evangelistic movement, do support the ones who are genuinely pro-Israel, not supporting the anti-Israel camp. Because what we've got here, let me add one other thing. World Vision have an office in Jerusalem.
Yes,
I can tell you that not $1 goes to Israeli kids in need, not Israeli Jewish kids, and not Israeli Arab kids.
That was my question. Are the Christian Arabs being supported by World Vision in Israel?
No. Why are they only then funding the enemies of Israel?
Because they have a mission, and the mission is to invoke harm on the Jewish people. Now, let me ask, I don't know who is best to ask this question. Dexter, are you familiar with replacement theology?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I thought so. That's what you do. Do you think replacement theology comes into play here?
I think, first of all, it's about the money, and then it's the replacement theology.
Okay, but it has a place.
World Vision, it sells a story. It historically has sold a story of Israeli villainy, and the reason why it gets away with that, particularly outside the United States, is because of hostility towards Israel. It has treated Israel with a ferocity and a criticism that is not directed at any other nation-state in the world. If you look at World Vision's materials, you will not see any harsh criticism of Hamas or even Bashar al-Assad. But if you want to see criticism of Israel, you'll find it on World Vision website.
Let me take this right over to conclude with my conversation with Charles Ortel. You've heard it all, Charles. I think we have a very big story to report.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, the tragedy is that charities, as you rightly point out, receive $300 billion a year from Americans who dig deeply into their pockets, assuming that these charities are well run. And the simple fact is that, particularly among the large ones, the Clinton Foundations, now World Vision, other ones, they're not well run. And there's no effective international regulator. The Israeli authorities probably assume that, the American authorities are looking at it. The IRS is overwhelmed. It has short-staffed in the tax-exempt organizations department. And the individual states like California and even New York, they don't have the manpower to really patrol and really understand what's happening here. So it sounds to me like you've done a great service here, Lisa, and your team. And you should watch this closely.
And as long as America supports us, we'll be back with another hell-breaking story next week. You could be sure of that. Charles Ortel, you have some stuff that you're telling me may be coming out on the Clinton Foundation. Everyone should watch your site, your blog, which is charlesortel.com. And I thank you for being my friend and for being here today.
My pleasure.
Now, Richard Cutting, one last comment.
I would say that this is an intelligence operation. Back to Barry's. You said the word mission, Lisa. It is the mission of hostile Hamas to infiltrate this organization, use its donors as witless dupes, and all of the instruments are there, the financing, the distribution, the cutouts, and deception. This is a professional operation of infiltrating this organization, and it must be exposed, and it starts with the finances, and this is the importance of this show. Thank you for it, Lisa.
Thank you. Jerry Gordon.
Well, you've heard it. This is a story that is not going away, and those of you who are Christians who are listening today will be shocked that this is going on with your funds. And evangelicals, you must undertake due diligence to make sure that your funds are appropriately allocated in support of the Jewish nation.
Thank you, Jerry Gordon. Dexter Van Zile, what a great pleasure it has been to have you on the show. We have a few more minutes, and I think we probably didn't ask you every question that we needed to. There's one question here that is on our list. Australia and Germany did suspend their relations with World Vision International, didn't they?
Yes, they did. One of the interesting things about World Vision and its affiliates is that they get a fair amount of government funds. The United States, the numbers that I got for World Vision USA in 2014 indicate that they get about $194 million from the U.S. government.
Oh, my goodness, come on.
And so that's a very interesting number, because what that may do is it may force Congress to exercise more oversight over the charity and say, look, one of your guys has been accused of funneling money to Hamas, and there's disagreement about how much, but this is, and clearly the World Vision folks at both World Vision International and World Vision USA, they are paying attention to the story because they know they can't let this continue. To give them credit, they know they can't let that continue.
And Barry,
but I think congressional oversight is on the way.
We're going to make sure. Let's try to work on that. We can work on that with the radio show and the Queen Esther Project, by the way, Dexter. So I'll have subsequent conversation with you. Barry Shaw, you found on your Facebook page you had a Hamas naval base in Gaza paid for by whom?
Yeah. That naval base was funded by the United Nations Development Program.
And how are they related to World Vision?
They're not in a sense, because it's part of the United Nations' actual involvement in helping the terrorist organization, and the assignment for terror goes along with the United Nations Works and Refugee Agency, UNRWA, who, if you look into that subject, you'll find that they are inciting children to become future terrorists. The one thing I want to leave your listeners with is this. Let's be clear on this. If World Vision want to say, well, Hamas is the ruling political body in Gaza, so we have no choice, one third of the World Vision money given to unemployment benefits has gone to the members of the Izzadin al-Qassam Brigade, which is the military terrorist wing of Hamas in Gaza. So the money has gone through terrorist tunnels, terrorist training camps, and also to the Izzadin al-Qassam, which is the military wing of Hamas, the terrorist organization.
It gets worse every day. By the way, if none of you have heard the news that broke today, I call it the Khan game. The guy who got Khan, the father of the soldier that was killed, he got up at the DNC and he spoke and he held the Constitution. The DNC, the Democratic National Committee, Hillary Clinton's people paid him $25,000, I understand, to do that. So when you have this kind of deception in everything that you see and read, it's only due to people like us who are not on mainstream media, who are paying to be here, who can tell these stories. And you have to use discernment and not fall into conspiracy theory. But here we are telling you this. And Barry Shaw, I want to thank you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying up tonight. I say Laila Tov and Shalom to you, and I can't wait to speak to you again. And thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me on. It's a very important subject here, and your listeners will get more information when the trial takes place of Mohammad Halabi in an Israeli military court. Then you'll have even more information.
When does that trial begin?
We don't know yet, probably in another month.
Okay, thank you. Dexter Van Zile, let's follow you on camera. What is your website?
Camera.org, CAMERA.org.
Thank
and
you.
And also Camera.org on Twitter.
Thank you. Jerry Gordon, thanks for coordinating this. Richard Cutting, always my great pleasure to have you on. America, may God shed his grace on thee. And please be safe out there. Please be safe. And support us. Don't forget, we want to be back next week with Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Lisa Benson, LisaBensonRadioShow.com, your host. And I say good night. Good night, everyone. KKNT 960 The Patriot. Good night.